We want to welcome Birdie Jackson. Birdie, welcome aboard.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right, no problem. You've got that. So every story has a journey. So let's start where it all began. Tell our audience a little bit about your upbringing in Lynchburg, Virginia.
So I was raised in Lynchburg, Virginia. I stayed there all the way through until graduating college, stayed there for a few years after, and then finally moved out. But so I live in a very close network with my family. Everyone in my family is very big with athletics. My dad was really he was All-American in track and played football. My mom used to play softball. And so my family's really big into sports. We always would play. We also got really into tennis. And so growing up, a lot of what I did was play tennis. On Sundays, we would have a family workout. So me, my dad, my brother, and my mom would be out either playing tennis or running hills. So we were very into exercising and doing active things. And then I got into running track in middle school because it's a funny story. I actually tried out for every single sport. Aside from tennis, I missed tennis tryouts, but I tried out for every single sport and had no coordination or anything, and no one would take me onto the team. So the last thing I had was track. And so I figured to try out for that since they don't cut people. And then, I had my first coach. I started off with the hurdles, and my coach, I remember she would tell me, "Jackson, you can't do the hurdles. You're too small." And a few years later, started competing in college athletics and proved her wrong. So that was a good feeling. Athletics has played a major role in growing up in Lynchburg.
Okay, we'll get more into your track and field career in just one moment. I want to stay with your upbringing in Lynchburg. Were there any, before you got into the school system and doing athletics, were you involved in any type of competitions, whether it be with a recreation league or some type of organizations in the area?
My dad actually I never competed before track, but I used to go to tennis camps a lot. We didn't have any real competitions. My dad he ran quite a few tennis camps, and that's what I attended when I was growing up. And then also I was involved in dance throughout elementary school, but there weren't any real competitions, mostly just performances.
Okay, excellent. So now let's get into your track and field career. Again, you mentioned earlier that you did some great things at your high school in the area, and then it led to you being at Liberty University. Matter of fact, the Liberty Flames to be exact. Now, you competed in the heptathlon at Liberty. For our audience out there that may not be familiar with the nuances or the events of track and field, explain to them what the heptathlon is all about.
So the heptathlon is an event that indoor you have the pentathlon, outdoor you have the heptathlon. For the pentathlon, it takes one day. You have 30 minutes in between each event to get ready for the next event. So those events consist of the 55 hurdles, high jump, long jump, shot put, and the 800-meter run. And so you have 30 minutes in between each, and it's based off a scoring system. So the faster and the further you jump, the more points you get. And so you can lose, or you may not win one event, but you can still win overall depending on how many points you score at the end. And then for our outdoor, you have the heptathlon, which is 7 events. That takes place over 2 days, and you also have 30 minutes in between. It's 7 events. It's long jump, high jump, shot put, javelin, 200-meter, 800-meter, and the 100-meter hurdles. It's not in that order, but I can't really remember the order at the moment. But yeah, so you have 30 minutes in between each event, and the scores add up at the end.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm a big track and field fan, so I follow the sport a lot, both on the men's and women's side of things. I know the heptathlon is certainly an event where it requires not just speed, but a lot of strength and endurance as well. Tell our audience out there what did your training consist of when you prepared for this event?
We would have, because of NCAA rules, we had 40, I think you could only do up to maybe 35 to 40 hours a week for training, or somewhere around there. So we had a lot of volunteer training. So we would either do morning lifting and throwing work in the morning, and then in the afternoon we would work on our sprints and jumping events. And so most of the time our workouts started we would have either morning throws, and then in the evening we would go and do our harder workouts. Every other day we would have a hard workout. On our lighter days we would work on technique and more field event work. But it was definitely time consuming because each event, there's so many, it's a lot of different techniques you have to learn. And with that, it's easy to forget your steps from one event to the next, or, you get mixed up with how your posture is supposed to be, what form you're supposed to use. And so it takes a lot of concentration to be able to keep those separated.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell me, what was your favorite event in the heptathlon?
Oh, geez. I really enjoyed the hurdles. That's what I did, for about 12 years. So hurdles was my favorite event, and it racked up the most points because for the hep, sprinting events, and then jumping events and then throws, it's like the order of how points rack up. So it's easier to get a lot of points in the sprints compared to in the throws. So I really enjoyed doing the hurdles. And then towards my senior year, I actually enjoyed running the 800 more because it took me so long to figure out how to actually run that race. And so it wasn't until I got older and, took more time training that I was able to really enjoy the sprint of the 800.
Speaking of some of your achievements that you had at your time at Liberty University, in 2015, you were the Big South Individual Outdoor Heptathlon Champion, and you finished second indoor in the same year. And also in 2014, you finished second in the indoor and outdoor. And then in your senior year in 2016, you finished first in the indoor pentathlon where you were the Big South champion. You went undefeated that whole year. Tell our audience about the process of how did that happen, and was there any stress or any nerves coming down the wire as you were preparing for this feat to happen?
Well, actually, so for my senior year, we had a freshman coming in, and her name was Kylie, and she was an amazing athlete. So the whole time, all I could think was I could not lose to this girl. And so every competition, she helped push me because I'm a senior, she's a freshman, so I have to make sure I'm going out with a bang. So I had to definitely push myself at each meet. And even going into conference, the nerves are there because all right, we're coming towards the end. This is the big meet. I don't want to come in last place, or I don't even want to come in second place. Just you want that medal. And then went on to ECACs, and that was the year prior. So my junior year, I had gotten third. And so I wasn't even expecting to get first place. I didn't have any idea that I was going to get there until it came down to the 800-meter run or race. And my coach came over there to me and was like, Birdie, you're only a few points ahead of this other girl. You have to beat her in this race. And at that time, I was like, oh, okay, this is 800. I'm normally, a little weaker in this event. I'm going to have to, really push myself. So I went out there, and that was, I think I PR'd for the season, I had a 20-second PR for the season in that race, and which helped, bring me into my outdoor season.
Let's go more into detail about the ECAC competition. That's the Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference competition. And as you mentioned earlier, you finished in first place. So tell our audience more in detail about the competition and the other schools that are involved in this.
So that competition that's the meet right before regionals and nationals. So for the HEP, you'd only have that for the East Coast, we only have that race or that event before nationals, since there's no heptathlon in the nationals. So with that competition, it was very stressful because you had people from quite a few different schools. From remember, like the girl that was in competition was from Elon. Some people from Radford, VMI, Penn State was there. There was quite a few schools. It was a really great meet. It was I had a lot of PRs for that meet. It was the first. I think I threw like a 39 in the shot put, which was a PR. I think I PR'd in almost every single event in that meet, and it was it was a great time for me to really realize, like, wow, I'm really starting to push myself, and I'm seeing the results of all the training that's come together from the past 3 years. And so it was definitely a very great win for me.
You had a lot of accomplishments during your time at Liberty. What were some of the lessons that you learned during your time in college?
One of my biggest lessons learned, not just as like running, it's kind of the whole how it plays into working, like it's like a business. The school pays for you to travel, to compete, to do all this stuff, to basically just represent the school. And so when I first got to Liberty, I wasn't on a full scholarship. I was on a partial scholarship, and I learned the better I get, the more places I'm able to go, the more scholarship I'm able to make. And so by my senior year, I was able to get onto a full ride and travel to Texas relays and Mount Sac relays, and just being able to travel and see different places, compete against a lot of major athletes. I remember at one of our track meets in the Mount Sac relays, I got to meet Ashton and Brianne Eaton, who compete in the Olympics in decathlon, which was amazing to be able to compete with those athletes and other professional athletes. And so it just opens up so many opportunities and broadens your horizon to see what's out there and, you know, what other competition, higher competition is like. So it was definitely an amazing experience, just learning about track, learning about like how scholarship, how business works in general. The traveling was just amazing. And so that's one of my biggest takeaways, was being able to get to go and compete at so many large meets and meet so many different people.
Now let's talk about a commercial that aired during the Tracktown USA competition on ESPN, and it was for a company called Bainon Sports, and the title of commercial is called Earn Your Speed. And for those of you that have not seen the commercial yet, you can go to the link right on the description and you'll see it. For those that may have not seen the commercial, Birdie, explain in detail what's it all about.
So the commercial is about just training, like how you got from you make yourself become something and all the process of getting to where you want to be. So throughout the shoot, we were shooting, training, warming up, stretches, working out, which all led to that final race, that last race. And it's kind of like how most athletics are, because you're training so long to get to that final competition and to perform at your best.
I want to know, how long did it take to film that commercial?
It took about 2 days. It was mainly almost 2 full days of filming. There were a lot of retakes, which this was my first commercial I ever did. So I didn't realize how much filming goes into, you know, a short 30 seconds. And so there's one time where I was having to run up a hill, and they kept saying, okay, we're going to do another shot. All right, we're going to do another shot on this hill. And I was like, wow, this is an actual workout right here, because you're trying to keep a certain composure with your face. You try to hold your form, and then you don't know what scene is actually going to make it. And so it was definitely interesting to see how many shots it took to get that one that they were looking for.
Was the commercial shot at the university, or was it just shot at a regular rec center?
So that was shot at Liberty University. There were some shots that were shot around Lynchburg, but one of the tracks, most of it was shot at Liberty University, because Bainon was the one that built our indoor track, which is an amazing facility now. I think it's one of the top on the East Coast, and it's hydraulic track. So it's a really beautiful facility. And so because Bainon was the company that we went through to create that track, that's where we decided to film at.
How long did the workout portions of the commercial take? Did you have to do retakes of the workout segments?
The lifting took we took a shot at one, there was a weight room facility we had went to, and then we took another one at a different weight room facility. So I would say that took maybe around 3 to 4 hours. It took a little bit of time, because they were looking for the angles, the lighting, which lifting we were going to do, and a lot of it didn't make the final production. But yeah, there was quite a bit of the lifting, more so the running than the lifting.
Okay, now let's move on to the importance of health and fitness in minority communities. We know that a lot of minority communities and just all communities in general are stricken with a lot of health problems. We also have diseases that are on the rise, like diabetes, high blood pressure, and things of that nature. How important is health and fitness in these communities, and what are you doing to make them aware of this?
I think obviously that health and fitness is extremely important. I know with my generation, you have a lot on social media with people being more acceptant of different body types, which in a way that is good to have that positivity, but you want to also encourage to be healthy. So you have this whole movement of people saying it's okay to look like this and it's okay to not eat healthy and eat all this junk food. And so you also want to be aware, well, that's not healthy for yourself. And you want to make sure that, you know, you're living a lifestyle that's going to help you live longer. And to be able to get exercise and go out and eat healthy can play like a huge role on that, which I feel people tend to neglect, especially with how easy it is to purchase unhealthy foods. You can get you can get a big meal from McDonald's for only a few dollars, or go to Cookout and get a meal for only a few dollars, and it will cost you more to go and get fresh fruits and vegetables from a market. So we also have that struggle with the cost of everything to eat healthier. And so that, I think that also plays like a huge role with why we have such a high rate of diabetes and other health issues.
While we're still on the topic of the importance of health and fitness, I want to go into food deserts. You mentioned about the fast food chains, and also you mentioned about how hard it is to get fruits and vegetables and higher quality food. Food deserts are a big problem across America in both urban and rural areas. Have you or are you doing anything to make people aware of this, or are you a part of some type of organization to get people to eat more healthy?
I'm not. I remember in school we used to always try to help do like food drives and stuff with providing people with healthier options to eat, and we learned a lot about nutrition with our trainers would give us classes on there. But as far as going out and helping the general public.
All right. So where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on my Instagram is Birdie Creative, and my website is birdiecreative.com. So that's I am a graphic designer, so that's my main website where I post some of my modeling photos. That's the main source of where you can find me on social media.
Before we let you go, tell our audience a little bit about your graphic design work, because I was looking at your bio and it says that you were a graphic design major at Liberty. Tell our audience a little bit more about that.
So I got into graphic design while I was at Liberty. They basically told me I needed to pick a degree, and I was always into art. Sorry, a side story I just remembered. As a little girl, my biggest goal was to become a Nike model, and that was another thing that drove me into track, because I knew that in order to become a Nike model, they always recruited the best athletes. So I figured, if I worked my way up, I could one day become a Nike model. So that was just a little side story that I remembered about trying to reach my goals.
You heard it from her. She's Birdie Jackson. Birdie, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.